The diaper bag slipped from my shoulder as I fumbled with my keys. Nikos whimpered against my chest, his tiny fist gripping my scrubs. Inside, the apartment was cold. Another thing I'd forgotten. Single motherhood was drowning me one unwashed bottle at a time. 18 months old now, Nikos had his father's eyes. Dark, Greek. Andreas's eyes. Every single time I looked at my son, I saw him. 18 months. Since I'd walked away from Athens, from the marble estate, from the man who controlled everything. I set Nikos in his playpen. He reached for the plastic rings, determined. Then he started crying, that sharp wail that meant something was wrong. I pressed my lips to his forehead. Too hot. Way too hot. I gave him infant acetaminophen, stripped him to his diaper, ran a lukewarm bath like I'd done 100 times at the pediatric unit. But this wasn't someone else's child. This was mine, and nothing worked. The thermometer beeped. My hands shook, Googling symptoms. Meningitis. Sepsis. Brain damage. Pediatrician's office. Voicemail. Past 6 p.m. Friday. After hours nurse line. 45-minute wait. Nikos's cries quieted to weak whimpers. His body went limp. That terrible stillness every pediatric nurse dreads. I knew what I had to do. Call him. My finger hovered over his contact. Never deleted it. Never could. The photo showed his face. Beard. Scar on his jaw. Eyes that missed nothing. I'd loved him once. Terrifyingly. Completely. Then learned what loving Andreas Constantine meant. Control. Danger. Suffocating protection through dominance. So I ran. Waited until he was in Athens. Packed everything. Left. Found out I was pregnant 3 weeks later. Nikos whimpered. Burning up. I pressed call. 1 ring. 2. Then, his voice. Deep. Controlled. Chloe. Not a question. Like he'd been waiting 18 months. I need your help. I whispered. Where are you? My apartment. Andreas, I need to tell you. Address. Now. That command. Protected and trapped equally. Please listen. Chloe. Quieter. Dangerously quiet. Address. Or I track your phone. 5 seconds. I told him. Don't move. I'm coming. Deadline. I stood there. Nikos burning against my chest. Had I just saved my son or destroyed everything? 20 minutes after I hung up the phone, I heard them. Not sirens. Engines. Multiple engines getting closer with every second. I went to my apartment window. Nikos limp and burning in my arms. The street below was filling with black vehicles. Not 1 or 2. Dozens. Mercedes SUVs with tinted windows, moving in perfect formation, surrounding the entire block. Men in dark suits poured out. Armed. Professional. Moving with military coordination. This wasn't a hospital visit. This was a display of absolute power. A black sedan pulled up in front of my building. Armored. Gleaming under the streetlights. The back door opened. Andreas Constantine stepped out. I'd forgotten how he commanded space. 6'3", athletic build in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. Dark hair with gray at the temples. Olive skin. That perfectly groomed beard. The scar on his left jaw I used to trace with my fingers. He looked up, directly at my window, like he knew exactly where I was. Even from 3 floors up, I felt the weight of his gaze. My phone rang. Unlock your door, he said. No greeting. Pure command. I'm coming up. Andreas. Wait. Unlock the door. Chloe. The line went dead. My hands shook as I went to the door, still holding Nikos. I turned the deadbolt with trembling fingers, slid the chain lock free. Then I heard footsteps. Multiple sets. Coming up the stairs fast. 1 knock. Sharp, controlled. I opened it. Andreas stood there, in my shabby hallway, flanked by 2 men I didn't recognize, both armed, both watching the corridor. But Andreas only looked at me. Those dark eyes swept over my face. The tears still falling. The exhaustion. The fear. Then his gaze dropped to Nikos. I watched his expression change. Watched him register the dark hair that matched his own. The olive skin. The age. 18 months old. I saw him doing the math. Saw the realization hit. Chloe. His voice had gone very quiet. Dangerous. Whose child is that? My throat closed. Andreas took one step forward. Answer me. Whose child? Yours, I whispered. The word hung between us like a detonation. For 3 seconds, Andreas didn't move, didn't breathe, just stared at the son he didn't know he had. Then his hand came up. Slowly, his palm pressed against Nikos's forehead. He's burning up, Andreas said. His voice fractured. How long? 2 hours. Maybe 3. I gave him medicine, but nothing worked, and I called the pediatrician. Stop. He pulled out his phone. Stavros, I need Dr. Papadopoulos at this address in 10 minutes. Private house call. My son. Dangerous fever. I don't care what he's doing. Get him here now. My son. He'd said it so easily. Like 18 months of secrets had evaporated. Andreas ended the call. Looked at me. How long were you going to wait? His voice was quiet, controlled. But I heard the fury, the betrayal. How long before you told me I had a son? I was going to tell you eventually. When, Chloe? When he graduated college? When I was too old to be his father? You didn't want children. The words exploded. You said kids were a weakness, a liability. That was before. His jaw clenched, before I knew what I was missing. Nikos whimpered. Weak. Andreas stepped closer. Close enough that I smelled his cologne, cedar and something darker. Give him to me, he said. What? Give me my son. I hesitated, every instinct screaming not to let go, but Nikos was burning up. I was out of options. I transferred Nikos into his arms. Andreas held our son like glass, large hands cradling that tiny body with gentleness I'd never seen. Mikromol, he whispered. My little one. Ado. I'm here. Nikos's eyes fluttered open. Confused. Feverish. Looking at this stranger, but something passed between them. Some recognition. Nikos's tiny hand reached up, grabbed Andreas's finger, held on, and I watched Andreas Constantine break, not visibly, but I saw it in his eyes, in the way his jaw tightened, in how carefully he held that tiny hand. A doctor's coming, he said, not looking away from Nikos. The best pediatrician in the city. Andreas. We're not done, Chloe. His eyes met mine. Dark. Intense. Furious. You and I are very far from done. But right now our son needs help. So we table this. Understood. I nodded. A knock. One of his men. Kyrios. Dr. Papadopoulos is here. Andreas moved toward the door, still holding Nikos. And I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. Not in calling him, but in thinking I could keep his son's secret. Because Andreas Constantin didn't let go of what belonged to him. And I'd just given him the one thing he would never walk away from. Dr. Papadopoulos was in his 60s, gray-haired, with the calm competence of someone who'd seen everything. He examined Dinios with gentle efficiency, while Andreas stood 3 feet away, arms crossed, watching every movement, like a hawk. I'd never seen Andreas like this. Tense, almost afraid. Viral infection, Dr. Papadopoulos said finally. Not meningitis, thank God. His fever should break in the next 12 hours with proper medication. He'll be fine, Mr. Constantin. Andreas's shoulders dropped slightly. You're certain? He asked. Certain. Children this age run high fevers. It's terrifying for parents, but usually not dangerous. Monitor him closely tonight. If the fever hits 104 or he has a seizure, call me immediately. The word parents hung in the air between us. Dr. Papadopoulos packed his bag. I'll have the prescriptions sent to your usual pharmacy within the hour. He looked at me. You did the right thing calling for help. Then he left, escorted out by one of Andreas's men. And suddenly, we were alone. Andreas still held Nikos, our son asleep against his chest, tiny fist gripping his expensive suit jacket. We need to talk, Andreas said quietly. I know. Not here. Get his things. You're both coming with me. Andreas, I can't just leave everything without discussing this first. You can. And you will. My son is sick. He needs his father. Pack whatever you both need for a few days. We're leaving in 10 minutes. There it was. That command that made me feel protected and trapped equally. I wanted to argue, but looking at Nikos sleeping peacefully for the first time in hours, I couldn't find the words. Okay, I whispered. I moved through my apartment, throwing clothes into a duffel bag. His stuffed elephant, diapers, formula, medical records. Andreas watched me the entire time, silent and calculating. How long have you been living like this? He asked suddenly. In this apartment, alone with my son. 18 months of doing it all myself. Working full-time, paying for daycare, rent, everything, while you lived your life, not knowing any of this existed. While I didn't know, because you made sure I didn't know. His voice went quiet, dangerous. Look at me, Chloe. I did. You don't get to play the martyr here. You chose this. You chose to run. You chose to keep my son from me. Every struggle you've had, you brought on yourself. The words hit like a slap. I was protecting him from your world, from the violence, from the danger, from me, Andreas finished. Say it. You were protecting him from me. Yes. From what you are. From what? A father who would die for him, who would burn this city to ash to keep him safe. You didn't protect him, Chloe. You stole from him. Stole 18 months of having a father who would have given him everything. Everything except safety. You think you've kept him safer living here? I had my men run background checks. Do you know who lives 3 floors down? A convicted felon. Do you know what happened next door 6 months ago? Armed robbery. My stomach dropped. You left my protection, my resources, my ability to keep you both safe. And for what? So you could struggle alone? Work yourself to exhaustion while my son went to daycare with strangers because you were too proud to ask for help. I didn't ask because you would have controlled everything. You don't protect people, Andreas. You possess them. Silence. Andreas looked at me for a long moment. Is that what you think? That I would have possessed you? You did control me. When we were together, I couldn't make a single decision without you intervening. Where I went. Who I saw. You had men following me everywhere. To protect you. To control me. I couldn't breathe. Every day felt like drowning in your need to dominate everything. So you ran while I was out of the country. Didn't leave a note. Didn't explain. Just disappeared. Do you have any idea what that did to me? You would have stopped me. Yes, I would have. Because I loved you. Because the thought of you leaving tore me apart. But you didn't give me the chance to even try to change. You just decided I was irredeemable and left. You weren't going to change. How do you know? How do you know what I would have done if you'd actually talked to me? If you'd told me you were suffocating? If you'd told me I was losing you? His eyes met mine, intense, and then you found out you were pregnant with my child. And instead of telling me, you kept him secret for 18 months. Nico stirred. Andreas looked down, his demeanor changing completely. Mikromo koimiso. Sleep, little one. Nico settled. When Andreas looked back at me, the fury was banked, but burning. Here's what's going to happen. You and Nikos are coming to my estate until he's completely recovered. During that time, we're going to have a very long conversation about custody. About what kind of relationship you and I are going to have now. Andreas. You can't just dictate terms. This isn't a request. You kept my son from me for 18 months. You don't get to make the decisions anymore. Every instinct screamed to fight back. But looking at Nikos, still feverish and vulnerable, I couldn't risk his health for my pride. Fine. But just until he's better. Then we discuss this like adults, with boundaries. Andreas's mouth curved. Not quite a smile. We'll discuss whatever I decide we need to discuss. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Pack faster. We're leaving in 5 minutes. He didn't rage the way I'd expected. No threats beyond leaving with him. But Andreas always played the long game. He didn't need to rage, because he had exactly what he wanted. Nikos. And me, with no choice but to follow. I finished packing and grabbed my purse. Andreas was already at the door, Nikos sleeping against his shoulder. Let's go, he said. I followed him down the stairs into the night, where 40 black Mercedes still waited. Men in dark suits opened doors, creating a protective corridor. Andreas placed Nikos carefully in a car seat that hadn't been there before. Someone had installed it in the fast 30 minutes. He buckled our son in with surprising gentleness, checking the straps twice. Then he gestured for me to get in. I climbed into the back seat. Andreas slid in beside me. The door closed. The convoy started moving. And I realized, watching the city lights blare past, that I'd made a choice I couldn't take back. I'd called Andreas Constantin for help. and now he would never let us go. The estate appeared through the trees like something out of a movie. Wrought iron gates opened automatically as our convoy approached. The driveway wound through manicured gardens, past marble fountains, toward a sprawling mansion that looked more like a palace than a home. This was Andreas's world. The world I'd run from. The cars stopped in perfect formation. Andreas's men moved with practiced efficiency, securing the perimeter before anyone opened a door. This wasn't just wealth. This was power, control, everything I'd feared raising Nikos around. Andreas carried our still sleeping son toward the entrance. I followed, duffel bag over my shoulder, feeling completely out of place in my wrinkled scrubs and messy ponytail. The inside was exactly as I remembered: marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork that probably cost more than I'd make in a lifetime. Cold, beautiful, suffocating. A woman in her 50s appeared, elegant in a simple black dress. "Mr. Constantine, welcome home. Maria, prepare the blue guest suite, and have Dr. Papadopoulos's prescriptions picked up immediately. Bring them to me the moment they arrive." "Of course." "And the child?" "My son." Andreas said it with such finality, such ownership, that Maria's eyes widened only slightly before her professional mask returned. "Congratulations, sir. I'll prepare the nursery as well." "No need. He stays with me tonight. I want to monitor him myself." "With me? Not with us. With him." Already, Andreas was making decisions, taking control, exactly as I'd feared. "Follow me," Andreas said, heading toward the grand staircase. I followed him up 2 flights, down a hallway lined with portraits of stern-looking Greek men who all had Andreas's eyes. Family. Legacy. The weight of generations. He stopped at a door, pushed it open with his shoulder. The room beyond was massive. A 4-poster bed, sitting area, doors leading to what I assumed was a bathroom, and against one wall a crib. Brand new. Expensive. Already assembled. "When did you have time to set this up?" I asked. "I didn't. I made a phone call from the car. My staff handles everything." Of course they did, because Andreas Constantin snapped his fingers and the world rearranged itself to his specifications. He laid Nikos carefully in the crib, adjusting the blankets with surprising gentleness. Then he stood there, just watching our son sleep. His hand rested on the crib rail, and I saw something in his expression I'd never seen before. Vulnerability. Wonder. Fear. "He's so small," Andreas said quietly. "So fragile. He's stronger than he looks. He shouldn't have to be strong. He's 18 months old. He should be protected. Safe. Sheltered from everything that could hurt him." Andreas turned to look at me. "That's what fathers do, Chloe. They protect their children. And I've missed 18 months of protecting mine." The accusation hung between us. "Andreas, I need you to understand why I left, why I kept him secret. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to protect him from the life that comes with being your son. The life that comes with being my son," Andreas repeated slowly. "You mean wealth? Security? The best schools? The best healthcare? A father who would kill anyone who threatened him? I mean the danger, the violence, the constant fear that something you're involved in will touch him, that someone will use him to get to you." I took a breath. "That he'll grow up thinking power and control are how you show love." Andreas's jaw clenched. "Sit down, Chloe. We're going to have the conversation I mentioned, right now." It wasn't a request. I sat in one of the armchairs. Andreas sat across from me, elbows on his knees, hands clasped, those dark eyes fixed on me with absolute focus. "Here's the situation as I see it," he began. "You kept my son from me for 18 months. Legally, I could take you to court, fight for custody, and I would win." He leaned forward slightly. "My resources, my lawyers, they're the best money can buy. A judge would see that I can provide for him in ways you never could." My heart started pounding, but I don't want to do that. I don't want Nikos growing up in the middle of a custody battle. I don't want him torn between 2 parents who hate each other. Andreas paused. "So I'm going to make you a proposition." "What kind of proposition?" "You and Nikos move in here, permanently. You'll have your own suite, your own space. You can continue working as a nurse if you want, or you can stay home with him." He gestured around the room. "Either way, all expenses are covered. You'll want for nothing." I stared at him. "You want us to just move in?" Live here with you? Yes. As what? Your captives? As the mother of my child. Under my protection. In my home. And what do you get out of this arrangement, Andreas? Control? Ownership? The satisfaction of having us exactly where you want us. And me? What happens to me in this arrangement? That depends on you. Meaning? Meaning we figure out what kind of relationship we have. Whether we can be civil co-parents. Whether there's still something between us worth salvaging. He held my gaze. Or whether we simply exist in the same house. For Nikos's sake. I stood up, needing to move. This is insane. You can't just expect me to uproot my entire life, because you've decided this is how things are going to be. Andrea stood too. Stepped closer. You uprooted your entire life to get away from me. You uprooted Nikos's life by keeping him from his father. His voice dropped. Don't talk to me about uprooting lives, Chloe. You're an expert at it. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Was it fair that I didn't know my son existed? Was it fair that you made that choice for both of us? For him? I had no answer. Because he was right. God help me. He was right. Here's what's fair. Andreas continued, his voice dropping lower. Dangerous. You get to live in luxury instead of that apartment in a dangerous neighborhood. You get to stop working yourself to exhaustion. He took another step closer. You get to actually be a mother to Nikos instead of leaving him with strangers while you work double shifts. And in return, I get to be his father. That's the deal. And if I say no, then we do this the hard way. Custody lawyers, courts, judges. And I promise you, Chloe, I will win. My hands shook. You're threatening me. I'm giving you a choice. Live here, under my protection, with every advantage I can provide for our son, or fight me in court and lose anyway. Andreas crossed his arms. Those are your options. He moved toward the door. Tomorrow we discuss terms. He stopped, hand on the doorknob, but didn't turn around. Why are you doing this? Really? Is it about Nikos? Or is it about punishing me for leaving? He was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough, raw. I'm doing this because 18 months ago, I lost you. And I didn't know why. I didn't know what I'd done wrong. I searched for you, had my best men looking everywhere. He gripped the doorknob tighter. And you just vanished, like you'd never existed. He turned then, and the look in his eyes made my breath catch. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Thinking you were dead? Thinking something had happened to you? His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. And then, finding out tonight that you were alive, that you'd left by choice, and that you'd kept my son from me. He shook his head. I'm doing this because I'm not losing you again, either of you. Not to your pride, not to your fear, not to anything. Andreas's eyes locked on mine. You're mine, Chloe. You've always been mine. And so is he. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be. He left, closing the door quietly behind him. I stood there, shaking, looking at Nikos sleeping peacefully in his expensive new crib, and I realized I'd traded one trap for another. I'd left Andreas to escape his control, and now, by asking for his help, I'd walked right back into it. Only this time, I'd brought our son with me. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I was in Andreas's home, in his world, exactly where I'd sworn I'd never be again. I sat in the armchair watching Nikos sleep, checking his temperature every hour. The fever was coming down slowly, but steadily. The medicine was working. By morning, he was down to 122 degrees. Still elevated, but not dangerous anymore. Andreas appeared at 6 a.m. He didn't knock, just opened the door and walked in like he owned the place, which of course he did. He was dressed differently. Not the suit from last night. Dark jeans. A gray Henley that showed off his build. Hair slightly damp from a shower. He looked younger, less intimidating. Almost like the man I'd fallen in love with 2 years ago. How is he? Andreas asked quietly. Better. Fever's coming down. Andreas crossed to the crib, pressed his palm to Nikos's forehead. Our son stirred, opened his eyes, looked up at his father, and smiled. That bright, innocent smile that babies give when they're happy, when they feel safe. Andreas froze. I watched something crack in his expression. Something vulnerable and raw. Galimira, mikromo, he whispered. Good morning, my little one. Nikos reached up, grabbed Andreas's finger, held on tight. He likes you, I said softly. He doesn't know me, but he will. I'll make sure of that. Andreas picked Nikos up, cradling him with surprising confidence for someone who'd only known about his son for 12 hours. Have you decided? Andreas asked, not looking at me, his attention completely on Nikos. Decided what? Whether you're staying, or whether we're doing this the hard way. I stood up, stretched. Every muscle ached from sitting in that chair all night. I don't have much of a choice, do I? There's always a choice, Chloe. You just don't like the options. Fine, we'll stay. Temporarily until we figure out a better arrangement. Temporarily, Andreas repeated. He finally looked at me. We'll see about that. Nico started fussing. Andreas handed him to me without hesitation. He's probably hungry. Maria's preparing breakfast. Come down when you're ready. He left. And I stood there holding our son, wondering what I'd just agreed to. 30 minutes later, I changed Nikos into clean clothes from my duffel bag and managed to make myself somewhat presentable. We went downstairs following the sound of voices and the smell of coffee. The kitchen was enormous, all marble countertops and professional-grade appliances. Maria was cooking what looked like a feast: eggs, bacon, fresh bread, fruit. Andreas sat at the kitchen island, tablet in front of him, coffee in hand. He looked up when we entered. Sit. Maria made enough food for 10 people. I sat, settling Nikos in my lap. He immediately reached for the banana slices on the counter. He likes bananas, I said. I'll remember that. Andreas made a note on his tablet. Actually made a note, like he was cataloging information about his son. You don't have to do that. I can tell you everything you need to know about him. I want to learn for myself, but I'm not refusing help. What else should I know? So I told him. About Nikos's routines, his favorite foods, his nap schedule, the way he loved water but hated having his face washed, how he was trying to walk but still preferred crawling. Andreas listened to every word, asked questions, made notes. It was surreal, domestic, almost normal. I need to go into the office today, Andreas said after breakfast. Just for a few hours. Urgent business I can't postpone. Maria will be here if you need anything. You're leaving? I said a few hours, Chloe. I'm not abandoning you. I'm running a business. Actually, several businesses. He stood, grabbed his suit jacket from the back of his chair. Make yourself at home. Explore. The estate is secure. My men are everywhere. You're safe here. Safe. That word again. His version of safety felt like a cage. But I didn't say that. I just nodded. Andreas paused at the door, looked back at Nikos. Something softened in his expression. I'll be back for lunch. We can discuss the long-term arrangement then. Then he was gone. The morning stretched long and strange. Maria showed me around the parts of the house that would be mine. My suite was 3 times the size of my entire apartment. Sitting room, bedroom, massive bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people, and connecting to my suite, through a door, was a nursery. Fully equipped, expensive crib, changing table, rocking chair, toys that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Mr. Constantin had everything delivered this morning, Maria explained. He wanted it ready. This morning? How is that even possible? When Mr. Constantin wants something done, it gets done. Of course it did. Nikos was fascinated by his new nursery. He crawled around exploring, pulling himself up on furniture, babbling happily. His fever was almost gone. He was acting like himself again, and I was trying not to think about how easily Andreas had just provided all of this. How he'd snapped his fingers and created a perfect space for our son in a matter of hours. I took Nikos out to the gardens after his morning nap. The grounds were beautiful, perfectly manicured, paths winding through rose bushes and flowering trees. A fountain with stone dolphins, and men in dark suits stationed at regular intervals, watching, protecting, or guarding, depending on how you looked at it. Nikos loved the grass, kept trying to pick the flowers. I let him. What was Andreas going to do? Complain about a few damaged roses? He's beautiful. I spun around. Andreas stood 10 feet away. I hadn't heard him approach. He moved too quietly for someone so large. You said you'd be back for lunch. It's only 11. I finished early. Wanted to get back. He walked closer, crouched down to Nikos's level. How's he feeling? Much better. Almost back to normal. Andreas reached out. Nikos immediately crawled to him, climbed into his lap, handed him a dandelion he picked. For me? Andreas asked softly. Nikos nodded, said something that sounded like Andreas went completely still. What did he say? He's learning words. That's just babbling. He doesn't actually know what it means yet. But Andreas's eyes had gone suspiciously bright. He held that crushed dandelion like it was made of gold. Come on, he said, standing up with Nikos in his arms. Let's have lunch. Then we need to talk seriously about the future. We ate on the terrace. Maria served Greek salad, grilled fish, fresh bread. Nikos sat in a high chair that definitely hadn't been there this morning, making a mess with cut-up pieces of fish and tomatoes. I want to make this official, Andreas said. I want my name on his birth certificate. I want to claim him legally as my son. Andreas, that's complicated. There are forms, legal processes, which my lawyers can handle. All you have to do is sign papers. Agree to the change. He wiped Nikos's face with surprising gentleness. I want him to have my name, Nikos Konstantin. I want the world to know he's mine. And what about me? What name do I have in this arrangement? Andreas's eyes met mine. Dark. Intense. That depends. Are you still Chloe Hughes? Or do you want to be something else? The implication hung heavy between us. I'm not marrying you, Andreas. I didn't ask you to. Yet. He leaned back in his chair. But you will take my name eventually, when you remember why you fell in love with me in the first place. I left you because I remembered why I shouldn't have loved you at all. No. You left because you were scared. Scared of how much you felt. Scared of losing yourself in me. Scared that loving me meant giving up control. He stood up, came around the table, stood behind my chair, close enough that I could feel the heat of him. But here's what you're learning, Gapimu. You never had control. Not with me. Not with us. That's what terrified you. That's why you ran. His hand touched my shoulder. Just his fingertips. Barely a touch. But I felt it everywhere. I'm not going to push you, Andreas said quietly. I'm not going to force anything. But I'm also not letting you run again. You're here, under my roof. Under my protection. And you're going to remember everything we had. He moved away. Think about the birth certificate. I want an answer by tomorrow. Then he picked up Nikos. Come on, little one. Let's go explore while your mother thinks. And he walked into the house, carrying our son, leaving me sitting there with my heart pounding and my hands shaking. Because he was right. I was scared. Not of him, but of how much I still wanted him. 3 days passed, in a strange domesticity I hadn't expected. Andreas worked from home most of the time. His office was on the first floor, and I could hear him on calls in Greek, his voice rising and falling with authority and command. But every few hours, he'd appear. Check on Nikos. Play with him. Learn his routines. He was trying. Actually trying to be a father. And it terrified me how natural it looked. Nikos adored him, would light up whenever Andreas walked into a room, would reach for him, call him Dada with increasing frequency and intention. I was watching them in the garden, on the third afternoon, when Maria appeared at my side. Miss Hughes, Mr. Constantin asked me to give you this. She handed me a phone. Brand new. Expensive. What's this? Your new phone. Mr. Constantin had it set up for you. All your contacts transferred. Enhanced security features. Of course he did. More control. More monitoring. But when I turned it on, I saw he'd set the lock screen photo to one of Nikos. The background was a picture I'd taken last month of Nikos laughing. He'd gone through my old phone. Found my photos. Chosen the ones that mattered. It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt intimate. I was losing my perspective, forgetting why I'd left in the first place. That evening, Andreas came to my suite, while I was putting Nikos down for the night. He stood in the doorway of the nursery, watching me rock our son to sleep. He trusts you completely, Andreas said quietly. I'm his mother, and he's starting to trust me too. Did you see today? He fell and came to me for comfort. Not you, me. There was wonder in his voice. You're good with him? I admitted. I want to be better. I want to be everything he needs. Andreas stepped closer. And everything you need too. Andreas, don't. Don't what? Don't tell you the truth? Don't admit that having you here these past 3 days has been the best 3 days I've had in 18 months? He was close now. Too close. I could smell his cologne. See the gray in his beard up close. Don't pretend this is something it's not. This is an arrangement. For Nikos, that's all. Is it? Because the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching says differently. You're seeing what you want to see. I'm seeing what's always been there. Chloe, the connection between us. It didn't disappear just because you ran from it. His hand came up, touched my cheek. I should have pulled away. Should have created distance. I didn't move. I'm not going to rush this, Andreas said softly. I'm not going to push you into something you're not ready for. But I need you to know something. He leaned closer, his forehead almost touching mine. I never stopped loving you. Not for 1 day, not for 1 hour, even when I was furious, even when I thought you were gone forever. I loved you. Andreas, just think about it. That's all I ask. He pulled back, smiled slightly. Good night, Chloe. He left, and I stood there in Nikos's nursery, my heart racing, my defenses crumbling. I was in trouble. Serious trouble. The next morning started normal enough. Nikos woke early, happy and healthy. His fever completely gone. Back to his energetic, curious self. I took him downstairs for breakfast. Andreas was already in the kitchen, suit on, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Greek, but his expression was different. Tense. Angry. He saw us. Held up one finger. Wait. Then back to the phone. Ochi. Den, thata epitreso, reston dora. No. I won't allow it. Find him now. He hung up, looked at us, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen in days. Fear. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing you need to worry about. Business issue. Andrea. He hesitated. Then sighed. Someone's been asking questions. About me. About my family. About whether I have any children. My blood went cold. Who? Papadakis faction. Greek organized crime. They've been trying to move into my territory for months. I've held them off, but they're getting more aggressive. He ran his hand through his hair. They know about Nikos. I don't know how, but they know. Oh God! It's fine. It's handled. I'm increasing security. No one gets within a mile of this estate without my knowledge. As if on cue, the front door opened. A man entered, tall, broad-shouldered, with a scar running down his left cheek. He moved with lethal grace. Stavros, Andreas said. Status? Perimeter. Secure. 20 additional men in position. Surveillance upgraded. No movement detected. Good. I want hourly reports. Anything unusual, you tell me immediately. Stavros nodded, his eyes flicked to me and Nikos. The family? They don't leave the estate. Not until this is resolved. Understood, Kyrios. Stavros left. Andreas turned to me. This is exactly what I was afraid of, I said. This is why I left. Because being connected to you puts Nikos in danger. Being my son puts him in danger. That's not changing whether you're here or not. At least here, I can protect him. Protect both of you. By making us prisoners? By keeping you alive. Andreas's voice rose. Then he caught himself, lowered it. I'm sorry, but you need to understand. These aren't reasonable people. They don't negotiate. They don't compromise. They hurt what's important to you to make you weak. He stepped closer. You and Nikos are what's important to me. That makes you targets. And I would rather die than let anything happen to either of you. Before I could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at it, frowned. I need to take this. Don't go outside today. Stay in the house. He answered the phone, walking toward his office. Savine? What's happening? I sat down, holding Nikos close. He was oblivious, playing with his toy elephant, making happy babbling sounds. He had no idea his father was one of the most dangerous men in the city, that people wanted to hurt Andrea, that my choices had led us here. The morning dragged. Andreas was on and off the phone constantly. I could hear his voice from the office, sometimes calm, sometimes sharp with authority. Stavros came and went. Other men I didn't recognize. All armed, all moving with purpose. By afternoon, the tension in the house was palpable. Maria brought lunch to my suite. Mr. Constantin thought you'd be more comfortable eating here today. Is it that bad? Maria hesitated. Mr. Constantin is being cautious. That's all. But her eyes told a different story. I was feeding Nikos when I heard the alarm. Not loud, not obvious, but a steady beeping that made my nurse instincts scream danger. I picked up Nikos and opened my door. The hallway was filled with Andreas's men, all moving with controlled urgency. Stavros appeared. Miss Hughes. Back inside. Lock the door. What's happening? Possible breach on the south perimeter. Could be nothing. But Mr. Constantin wants you secure. Where's Andreas? Handling it. Please. Inside. Now. He wasn't asking. I went back into my suite, locked the door, held Nikos close. He could sense my fear. Started to whimper. It's okay, baby. We're okay. Daddy's handling it? Daddy. When had I started calling Andreas that? Minutes passed. 5, 10, 15. Then I heard it. Gunshots. Distant, but unmistakable. Nikos started crying. I held him tighter, moved to the corner of the room furthest from the windows. This was my nightmare. This was exactly what I'd feared. More gunshots. Closer now. Then silence. Terrible, heavy silence. My door rattled. Someone trying the handle. Chloe. It's me. Open the door. Andreas. I'd never been so relieved to hear his voice. I unlocked it. He came in fast. Stavros behind him. Andreas had a smudge of something dark on his cheek. Blood. I realized. Not his. Are you hurt? I asked. No, neither is anyone in this house. The threat's been neutralized. Neutralized. You mean killed? I mean they won't be coming back. His jaw was set. Hard. Ever. He looked at Nikos, still crying in my arms. Something in his expression softened. Give him to me. I did. Andreas held our son close, murmuring in Greek. Ieseaseos phalios, eameado. Den, the sea phiosopote, you're safe. I'm here. I'll never let anything happen to you. Nikos calmed almost immediately, buried his face in his father's neck. Andreas looked at me over our son's head. Pack a bag. We're leaving. What? Where? My compound upstate. More remote. More secure. We can't stay here. Not after this. Andreas? You can't just keep moving us around like chess pieces every time there's danger. I can. And I will. Because the alternative is losing you. Losing him. And that's not happening. His eyes met mine. Fierce. Uncompromising. I told you I'd protect you. I meant it. Even if you hate me for it. Even if you fight me every step. You're mine to protect. And I'm not failing. Stavros cleared his throat. Kyrios. We should move now, while we have the advantage. Andreas nodded. Looked at me. 30 minutes. Pack essentials. We leave in 30 minutes. And if I refuse, then I carry you out. But we're leaving, Chloe. One way or another. He handed Nikos back to me. 30 minutes. Then he was gone, barking orders in Greek to his men. I stood there, holding our son, watching Andreas transform back into what he really was. Not the gentle father playing with his son in the garden, but the dangerous man who controlled everything through force. And I realized with sinking clarity that I'd made a terrible mistake. Not in calling him for help, but in thinking I could ever control what happened next. Andreas Constantin protected what was his, and whether I liked it or not, he decided that Nikos and I belonged to him. The question was whether I'd fight it, or surrender to it. The compound upstate was more fortress than home. 30-foot walls, armed guards every 50 feet, cameras everywhere. Electronic gates that required 3 levels of security clearance. We'd been here 4 days. 4 days of Andreas barely speaking to me. 4 days of him working constantly, coordinating with his men, handling the Papadakis situation. 4 days of me realizing I'd created this. By running 18 months ago, I'd set this in motion. By keeping Nikos secret, I'd made him vulnerable. By coming back, I'd put us all in danger. And Andreas was handling it, the only way he knew how. With control. With force. With absolute dominance over every variable, including me. On the 5th day, I woke to find Andreas's side of the bed empty. Wait, Andreas's side of the bed? When had I started thinking of it that way? We weren't sharing a room. We weren't together. Except we kind of were. Because somewhere in the chaos of the move, of settling Nikos into yet another new space, Andreas had stopped going to his own room, had started falling asleep in the chair, in Nikos's nursery, then on the couch, in my sitting room, then 2 nights ago, in my bed, fully clothed, on top of the covers. But there, and I hadn't told him to leave. I found him in his office. On the phone. Always on the phone. Okay. Den the diapragmato. No. We won't negotiate. He saw me, held up a finger. Wait. I was tired of waiting. Tired of being patient. Tired of watching him handle everything alone while I sat helpless. I walked in, sat down across from his desk. Andreas raised an eyebrow, but continued his call. Tilo apodeshi makri. Tu apodefima. Apodeshi. I want proof by tonight. Proof. He hung up, looked at me. What do you need? I need you to stop shutting me out. I'm not shutting you out. I'm protecting you. By making every decision alone? By not telling me what's happening? By treating me like I'm made of glass? Andreas leaned back in his chair. What do you want to know? Everything. The Papadakis situation. What you're planning. What the actual danger level is. All of it. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Kostas Papadakis wants my territory. Specifically, the waterfront shipping operations. It's worth hundreds of millions annually. He's been trying to negotiate. I've been refusing. Andreas pulled up something on his computer, turned the screen toward me. Photos of a man in his 60s, gray hair, cold eyes. 4 days ago, his men breached my estate security. They were sent to gather intelligence, to confirm Nikos's existence. They succeeded. My stomach dropped. Now Kostas knows I have a son, a weakness, something he can use against me. So he's made an offer. I give him the waterfront. He leaves my family alone. And if you refuse, then he'll keep coming, keep trying, until he either gets what he wants, or I eliminate the threat permanently. The word eliminate hung in the air. You're going to kill him, I said. Not a question. If necessary. Yes. And you don't see how this proves everything I was afraid of? How this is exactly the life I didn't want for Nikos? Andreas stood, came around the desk. You think I wanted this? You think I chose to be born into this world? Into this family? He gestured around. I inherited this. The businesses, the territory, the enemies, all of it. And I've spent 15 years trying to make it legitimate, trying to build something clean. His voice dropped. But men like Kostas don't care about legitimate. They only understand power, force. And if I show weakness, if I give them an inch, they'll take everything, including my son. So what's your plan? I'm going to meet with him. Tomorrow night. Neutral territory. We'll negotiate terms. You just said you won't negotiate. I won't give him the waterfront. But I'll offer something else. Something valuable enough that he'll take it and leave us alone. What? Andreas hesitated, then sighed. 20% of my legitimate shipping business. Clean money. Legal contracts. It's worth less than the waterfront, but it's sustainable. Legitimate. No risk of federal investigation. And if he says no, then I do what needs to be done. I stood up, moved closer. Let me come with you. Absolutely not. Andreas, if this is about family, about protecting Nikos, then Kostas needs to see me, needs to see that we're united, that attacking us means attacking both of us. No, it's too dangerous. Everything about your life is dangerous. But if I'm going to be part of it, if Nikos is going to be part of it, then I need to be more than just something you protect. I need to be your partner. Andreas stared at me. Partner? Yes. Equals. Not captor. And captive. Not protector. And protected. Partners who make decisions together. Something shifted in his expression. You're serious. Completely. He was quiet. For a long moment. Then nodded slowly. Okay. You come. But you stay in the car with Stavros until I signal it's safe. And if anything goes wrong, you leave immediately. No arguments. Deal. Andreas pulled me close. Not sexual. Just close. You're braver than I gave you credit for. I'm terrified. But I'm tired of running. Tired of letting fear control me. His hand came up, cupped my cheek. I'm sorry. I made you feel controlled. I thought I was protecting you. I didn't realize I was suffocating you. And I'm sorry I ran. Sorry I kept Nikos from you. I thought I was protecting him. I was really just protecting myself. We stood there, forehead to forehead, finally honest with each other. We can't keep doing this, I whispered. The control, the secrets, the fear. I know. So what do? We try something different. We trust each other. Really trust. Even when it's terrifying. I pulled back slightly, looked at him. Can you do that? Can you let go of control enough to trust me? Andreas smiled. Sad. Honest. I don't know. But I'm willing to try. For you. For Nikos. For us. That's all I'm asking. He kissed my forehead. Gentle. Tomorrow night, we face Kostas together. And then we figure out what comes next. Together. I repeated. Together. That night, after putting Nikos to bed, I found Andreas in his office again. But this time he wasn't on the phone. He was just sitting, staring at a photo on his desk. I came closer. Saw what he was looking at. A picture of me. From 2 years ago. Before I left. I was laughing at something off camera. Happy. Unguarded. You kept that? I said softly. I kept everything. Every photo. Every text. Every voicemail. I couldn't let you go. Even when you were gone. He looked up at me. I was angry when you left. Furious. But underneath that was just pain. Just the feeling that I'd lost the only person who'd ever really seen me. I saw you, Andreas. That's why I had to leave. Because I saw how much of yourself you were losing trying to control everything around you. I know. And you were right to go. I just wish you'd given me the chance to change before you did. I sat on the edge of his desk. Can I ask you something? Anything. That night. The night I left. You were in Athens. What were you doing there? Andreas was quiet. Then he pulled out his phone. Showed me something. A real estate listing. A house in a quiet neighborhood. Big backyard. Near good schools. I was meeting with a realtor. Looking at properties. Because you'd mentioned wanting something normal. Something away from the estate. And I was trying to figure out how to give that to you. My breath caught. You were going to buy us a house? I was going to try to be the man you needed. Less work. More time with you. A life that felt normal. He put the phone down. And then I came home, and you were gone. And I realized I'd waited too long. I reached out, took his hand. You're getting a second chance. We both are. Let's not waste it. Andreas pulled me closer. Into his lap. His arms around me. I love you, he said quietly. I never stopped. Even when I should have. I love you too. That's what made leaving so hard. We sat there, holding each other. Finally honest. Finally vulnerable. Tomorrow we'd face Kostas. Face the danger. But tonight, we had this. This moment of truth. Of connection. Of finally choosing each other from a place of strength, instead of fear. The meeting with Kostas was set for 8 p.m. at a warehouse on neutral ground. Andreas spent the day preparing. Not just security, but strategy. And for the first time since I'd known him, he asked for my input. What do you think? He asked, showing me his proposal. Is this reasonable? You're actually asking me? You said you wanted to be partners. Partners consult each other. It was small, but it was real change. We left at 7:30. Stavros drove. 4 other vehicles in our convoy. Andreas held my hand. The entire drive. If anything feels wrong, he said quietly. Anything at all. You leave. Promise me. I promise. But nothing's going to go wrong. You don't know that. No, but I trust you to handle it. He squeezed my hand. That means more than you know. The warehouse was exactly what you'd expect. Concrete. Industrial. Men with guns on both sides. Kostas waited inside. Older than his photos, but his eyes were sharp. Calculating. Andreas Constantin. Kostas said, in accented English. You brought a woman to a business meeting. This is Chloe Hughes, the mother of my son. My partner. Anything you say to me, you say to her. Kostas's eyebrows rose. Interesting. You've changed, Andreas. Your father would never have allowed such a thing. I'm not my father. No, you're not. Costas gestured to chairs. Shall we talk? The negotiation took 40 minutes. Andreas was brilliant, calm, strategic, offering just enough to make the deal attractive, holding firm on what mattered. And when Costas tried to push for more, Andreas didn't explode, didn't threaten, just calmly explained why that wasn't acceptable. It was masterful. Finally, Costas nodded. 20% of the legitimate shipping, 5-year contract, and you guarantee no interference with my current operations. Agreed, but in return, my family is completely off limits. You don't investigate, you don't surveil, you don't even think about them. Done. Costas extended his hand. You have a deal, Andreas. They shook. And just like that, the threat was over. In the car ride back, Andreas was quiet, processing. You did it, I said softly. We did it. Having you there changed the dynamic, made it clear this isn't just business, it's family. So what now? Now we go home, to our son. And we figure out what our life looks like. When we got back to the compound, Nikos was still awake. Maria had let him stay up late. He ran to Andreas the moment we walked in. Dada. Andreas scooped him up, held him close. Mikromo. I missed you. Nikos patted his father's face, then reached for me. Mama. We stood there, the three of us, finally feeling like a family. After putting Nikos to bed, Andreas and I sat on the terrace, stars overhead, cool night air. I've been thinking, Andreas said, about what you said, about control, about partnership. And I want to try something different. I want us to make decisions together, real decisions, not just me asking your opinion after I've already decided. He turned to face me. I want you to have equal say in Nikos's life, in our life, in everything. That scares you, doesn't it? Terrifies me, but not as much as losing you again. I took his hand. I need to tell you something, too, about why I really left. Andreas waited. I left because I was scared of how much I needed you, how much I wanted to surrender to you. I kept telling myself it was about control, about your dominance. I took a breath. But the truth is, part of me liked it. Liked having someone so strong make all the decisions. And that terrified me more than anything. Why? Because I was raised to be independent, strong, self-sufficient. And with you, I wanted to just let go, stop fighting, stop proving myself. I looked at him. I left because I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, someone who needed you more than she needed herself. Andreas pulled me closer. And now I realize, it's not about needing versus not needing. It's about choosing. I choose to be with you. Not because I need you to save me, but because together we're stronger. I choose you too, Andreas said softly. Not because I need to control you, but because loving you makes me better. He kissed me, gentle at first. Then deeper. 2 years of longing, of missing each other, of finally being honest. When we pulled apart, both breathing hard, Andreas rested his forehead against mine. Marry me, he whispered. What? Marry me. Not because I'm demanding it. Not because of Nikos, but because I love you. Because I want to spend my life choosing you. Every single day. Andreas, you don't have to answer now. Just think about it. Think about what we could build together. As real partners. As equals. I smiled. Ask me again in 3 months. After we've proven we can actually do this. Actually be partners. 3 months? 3 months. If we make it that long without falling back into old patterns, then yes, I'll marry you. Andreas grinned. Challenge accepted. He kissed me again. I'm going to spend the next 3 months proving I can be the partner you need. And I'm going to spend it proving I can trust you without losing myself. Deal. We sat there under the stars, finally on the same page, finally moving forward together. What happens tomorrow? I asked. Tomorrow, we start our new life. Together. As partners. As a family. I like the sound of that. So do I. Agapimo. So do I. 6 months later, the estate didn't feel like a prison anymore. It felt like home. Nikos was 2 years old now. Running. Talking in full sentences. Half in English, half in Greek. He had Andreas's eyes and my smile. and he was loved. Completely. By both of us. I was in the garden watching Nikos play when Andreas appeared. He'd been in the city all day handling business. How was the meeting? I asked. Productive. The Papadakis partnership is actually working. Who knew negotiation could be more effective than threats? He grinned, pulled me close. I learned that from a very smart woman. Smart and humble. That too. He kissed me. I have something for you. He pulled out a small box. Opened it. A ring. Simple. Elegant. A single diamond. It's been 3 months, Andreas said softly. Actually, it's been 6. And every single day I've chosen you. Chosen us. Chosen to be the partner you deserve. Andreas, so I'm asking again. Chloe Hughes, will you marry me? Not because you have to, not because of Nikos, but because you choose me. Because you love me. I looked at him. This man who'd changed. Who'd learned to trust. To share control. To be vulnerable. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on my finger. Kissed me like he'd never let go. Nikos ran over. Mama, Dada, play. Andreas scooped him up. We're playing, Mikromu. We're celebrating. Why? Because Mama said yes. Yes to what? Yes to being a family. Forever. Nikos clapped. Yay! Family! We stood there, the 3 of us. Andreas holding our son, me leaning against him. Finally complete. Thank you, Andreas said quietly. For giving me a second chance. For teaching me what love really means. Thank you for proving people can change. That strength isn't about control. It's about trust. I love you. I love you too. Nikos squirmed. Down. Play. Andreas set him down. Nikos ran off chasing butterflies. Ready for this? Andreas asked. Marriage. Partnership. Forever. With you? Absolutely. He pulled me close. Agapimo. My love. My partner. My equal. Forever. I whispered. Forever.